One day, the world was thrown into upheaval as towers and dungeons appeared, unleashing monsters that began attacking humans. Korea was hit especially hard, with the maximum number of dungeons and towers, making the monster attacks stronger than in any other country and turning the nation into a living hell. However, in this darkness, brilliant lights began to shine. These lights were called heroes. With the help of these heroes, Korea started to fight back, gradually bringing the towers under control. Companies began to capitalize on the situation, finding opportunities amidst the chaos. As time passed, South Korea rose to become one of the world's superpowers. To combat the increasing number of monsters and dungeons, a cube training center was established. Here, heroes from all over the world would gather, facing intense competitions. In this school, a main character destined to save the world would emerge, along with rivals contesting him. This was the overview of the world. However, this world wasn't created by God, it was created by an author named Kim Ha-jin. There was a problem. The world he wrote in his novel was unfolding before his eyes. Kim Ha-jin saw Kim Soho, a character from his novel, standing before him. He couldn't believe what was happening. He could hear people's thoughts about Kim Soho, making the reality of his situation even more unreal. Kim Soho is the main character of this novel, the one who will lead this chaotic world. He has a hero's kind and righteous heart, but he harbors a secret that he hides from everyone. Another character, Shin Jong-hak, has the potential to match the main character. However, he is destined to become the future villain. Currently, everyone is a cadet, but in the future, his rivalry with Kim Soho will turn him to evil. The author, Kim Ha-jin, found himself in the novel he created and wondered who he was. He was confused when someone called him Chundong. He wondered if there was a character named Kim Chundong in his novel. Looking at his reflection, he saw a question mark on his face and realized he had turned into a character he had never written about. Disappointed with his faint existence, he noticed that, despite being in the Cube Training Center, he was extraordinarily ordinary. He was just a background character, meant to fill up the audience seats, a novel's extra. One day, he received an email asking for a remake of his novel, The Returned Hero, which he had put on pause more than half a year ago due to low demand. Feeling guilty for abandoning the novel, he agreed to the remake. However, he did not know that he would eventually fall into the fictional world he created. He was still getting used to his unfamiliar face even after 2 weeks. He couldn't figure out who had dropped him into this world. All he knew was that he possessed the body of Kim Chundong, a mere extra in his novel. If this world continued as he had written, it would be 10 years before it was dropped. The thought of being stuck in a novel for a decade, mingling with a bunch of teenagers, was frustrating. He definitely didn't want to fight for his life in this suspended novel. However, he couldn't think of any way to escape other than catching up with the main story. To do that, he would have to attend school at Cube. Cube is a man-made island located near the East Sea, a modern city concentrated with the world's magic, skills, and talents. It is a hero's training center for students with special abilities called gifts. Only the top elite are qualified to be Cube cadets, and this person whose body the author possessed was one of them. He didn't know what kind of skill he had, but it must be special since he got into the Cube. He hoped for something good for survival in this daunting school. He reached his class and entered. He was in Class Veritas, the center of the whole Cube arc. Here, the good and evil characters, comrades and rivals, and the novel's protagonist would form cliques. Many events would unfold because of that. He would have to endure this for 10 years. Upon reaching his dormitory, he received a parcel. He assumed it must be Kim Chundong's personal belongings. He was shocked to find his laptop from the real world inside. When he opened it, it automatically began synchronizing between Kim Chundong, the Cube cadet, and Kim Ha-jin, the actual author of the novel. A stats window appeared, showcasing his attributes. Ha-jin recognized these settings from the novel. His body started shaking as the synchronization reached 99%. A screen appeared stating, "Unique authority setting. Intervention learned." Suddenly, his face was revealed as the question mark dispersed. Kim Chundong's body was replaced by Kim Ha-jin's due to the synchronization, and all stats were reset. He couldn't understand what was happening and thought maybe this was enlightenment, a phenomenon that occurs when one goes beyond their limits. In this world, it's called enlightenment. After enlightenment, gifts, skills, and abilities are digitized and become much more powerful. Ha-jin could see his stats window and took a look at his abilities. The first things that stood out were synchronization and conversion. Compared to Kim Chuandong's abilities, his were weak, but he had points instead. The second notable feature was setting intervention. Using SP points, he could modify or create non-living things and also use these points for gifts, abilities, and arts. Another important aspect was his increased importance as Kim Hajin. This meant he would have to become more significant in the novel's storyline. The reason he received these abilities was because he needed to interfere in the main story. If he wanted to influence the story, he would have to get stronger, so he began increasing his stats by investing points. In this novel, the concept of leveling up doesn't exist, and points are equivalent to valuable commodities. The best way to invest points is to increase luck. Luck isn't limited to the probability of finding an unknown reward in a dungeon. He immediately invests all his points in luck and the rest in perseverance. Due to luck being in effect, he gained extra stats. Suddenly, he received a warning that he couldn't change non-variable stats with SP points. Disappointed, he got to change his luck and perseverance. Then he remembered he had 10,000 SP from novice consideration, which he decided to use carefully. In class, the professor introduced himself to everyone, stating his world ranking was 9,737. After the introduction, he got straight to the point, telling everyone that Cube isn't a place for fun. The absolute indicator is grades, and those who don't get good grades will fall behind. He announced that the first task was to decide on their main weapon. Everyone gathered at the weapon armory to choose their weapon. The professor instructed that once they chose their weapon, they couldn't change it for a minimum of 6 months. All the main characters chose weapons they were compatible with. Next, it was Hajin's turn. His current stats weren't enough to wield any weapon typically used by cadets, so he decided to choose a weapon he had used before and could adapt to quickly. Everyone stared at Hajin oddly as he chose a gun as his main weapon. The professor, noticing this, asked if Hajin had used a sword at the military academy and if he was sure about using a gun. Hajin replied that he was sure. The professor reminded him that cadets were responsible for their decisions. Hajin overheard whispers of other students criticizing his choice. The bullets used in this world are called magic bullets, infused with mana, making them much more powerful than normal bullets. However, despite their merits, people avoid guns for 2 main reasons. First, they have limited damage capacity that cannot be changed. Second, the world is steeped in legends and mythology. Artifacts from myths exist, and the deeper the origin, the higher the weapon grade. Hence, people prefer old weapons over modern ones. This didn't concern Hajin since he had never used a sword before and wouldn't match up to the other cadets. Choosing a gun was the best choice for him, especially since he could modify non-living things with his SP points. The next task was to choose a gift. Gifts could also be called ultimate abilities. Usually, only one gift awakens within a person, but there are exceptions like Kim Soho, who possesses the Sword Master gift. Kim Soho was surprised to see Chai Naeun and asked if she was there to train as well. She got mad and replied, asking why else she would come to the training center. Kim Soho then asked if she knew about another sharpshooter in their class. She remembered him, and her expression quickly changed. She assumed he could barely shoot a range of 1 kilometer and was just stalling before giving up on being a hero. Soho told her not to say such things rashly. She wasn't expecting this from him and got annoyed, telling him to leave her sight. Meanwhile, Hajin remembered how the main character, Kim Soho, became the greatest hero with just 1 gift. The first gift the author wrote will give him 10,000 SP, so he chose the gift of sharpshooter. After writing the gift, it modified itself to include all ranged weapons, not just guns but also bows, along with some special abilities. With Hajin's skills of observation and reading, he could answer questions in class and observe everyone within his field of vision. Naeun got annoyed by the theory lectures and wanted to show some real skill. Suddenly, a student came in, informing everyone to gather in the plaza in 20 minutes. Everyone got hyped up, except Hajin. The professor announced the teams, each consisting of 2 warriors, 1 sharpshooter, and 1 support. He said these teams would remain until mid-semester and were evenly mixed with higher and lower-ranked cadets. When the professor displayed the teams, Hajin was not happy with the team he got. He was in the same team as Yuyona. There are numerous lead roles in novels, but among these leading characters, Yuyona is special. In the future, she will take over Korea's top guild, Essence of the Strait, and is also a successor of the Yu family. In the first half, she clashes with Kim Soho, but she will be influenced by him and become a strong supporter. Connecting with Yuyona was important for Hajin since the deeper the characters are connected to the story, the more SP he will get. During this training session, he was determined to attract Yuyona's attention. The teams gathered and introduced themselves. Yuyona tried to avoid them, but since they were teammates, she introduced herself formally. She asked who the last member was. Hajin came forward. His teammates immediately recognized him as the kid who chose a gun. The professor intervened and told them it wasn't time for chit-chat and that they should move quickly to find the monster each team was supposed to fight. They all quickly ran towards their designated target, but Hajin immediately felt tired, even though his stamina stats were above average. All he could do was stay on their tail. Finally, they reached the area where the black hump octopus appeared. Yuyona devised a strategy to counter the monster. The hump octopus had a crazy regeneration ability, but its main body's attack wasn't powerful. The problem lay with the humps on its head. When it detected danger, it would shoot dozens of baby octopuses from its hump, and these babies could paralyze opponents. Team members suggested they prioritize the baby octopuses, and Hajin, being a sharpshooter, would be best for the job. However, Yuyona quickly rejected the idea, saying she would handle the baby octopuses and suggested they preserve their magic power for the black hump octopus in one hit. Hajin understood that she was trying to exclude him from the training. Yuyona told everyone to get ready for the fight. The black hump octopus destroyed the boat, and one of the teammates made noise to grab its attention. It noticed him and quickly swam towards him. He ran away, but the octopus immediately shot baby octopuses from its hump at him. The baby octopuses almost reached him, but Yuyona destroyed all of them coming in his direction. Her power was unimaginable since she was ranked 7 in Cube. He thanked her and let her handle things. She quickly attacked its main body, but it retaliated, forcing her to fall back. However, she didn't notice a baby octopus near her, which quickly jumped towards her to attack. This was when Hajin decided to intervene and shot a bullet at the baby octopus. SP points could be exchanged for stat points, and SP could be earned when Hajin became popular. But for an extra, it was difficult to attract attention. Then the only other option was to intervene in the story, just like now. Everyone was shocked at Hajin's accuracy, which prompted the black hump octopus to release dozens of baby octopuses. Hajin quickly closed his eyes and concentrated on his breath, activating the bullet time ability. A gift he created, bullet time, slowed time for 3 seconds. That meant for 3 seconds, he could clearly see their movements. After that, it was simply shooting bullets into them. He quickly shot bullets at them before time ran out and managed to kill every single baby octopus. Yuyona's eyes were wide open. The black hump octopus weakened, and without any delay, Yuyona quickly grabbed its hump with a whip. Then their other teammates jumped from the air. They attacked simultaneously and quickly eliminated it with one hit. Hajin was exhausted and lay down on the ground. The black hump octopus shrunk to its original size. Team 5's clear time was 59 minutes, putting them at 16th place. The final monster round was over. Team 5 finished 16th out of 100. Yuyona was shocked and deeply disappointed with their rank. She was even more upset because Naeun had scored higher than her. When she noticed Shin Jong-hak smiling, her anger grew. She got up, walked over to Naeun, and asked her how the actual battle had gone. Naeun mentioned she finished in 4th place, but really wanted to beat Shin Jong-hak and Rachel. She then asked Yuyona about her rank. Awkwardly, Yuyona admitted she got 16th place, but was dying inside. Naeun, however, was impressed that Yuyona managed to get 16th place with a gunman on her team, commenting that she could have done better if he hadn't been part of it. She pointed out that Hajin wasted 50 minutes on a route that should have only taken 10 minutes. Yet, on the contrary, he had killed dozens of baby octopuses before they could even reach the ground. Yuyona wondered if that was even possible with just regular magic bullets and became curious about his real identity. In the training room, Hajin was exhausted from his workout. He checked his stats and saw that, thanks to his luck, his overall stats had increased significantly. He had received 27 SP points. He was glad to be involved with the main characters because it had significantly boosted his SP. Meanwhile, Yuyona reviewed footage of the monster round. While watching, she noticed that Hajin shot 60 bullets in just 2.78 seconds with a handgun. She wondered if it was even possible to shoot 20 bullets per second. She admitted that his reflexes were certainly extraordinary, but his health was strangely lower than that of normal cadets. Yuna received a message from Shin Jonghak asking what she was doing. She replied that she was analyzing the video, explaining that if she was going to take over the guild, she needed to analyze the people. Shin Jonghak mentioned that he thought all of her teammates were trash, but then he asked about the gunman on her team. She replied that he could pull his own weight and was suitable for rank 934. Shin Jonghak suggested that maybe he just got lucky, but Yuna doubted that it was merely luck. At the creator's Sacred Grace Guild building, Vice Captain Yoon Sunga was impressed with Kim Soho's performance. His swordsmanship was unlike anything else, his movements were like a dance, and his cutting force was extraordinary. She understood why all the top guilds wanted him and resolved to recruit him no matter what. Next was Kim Hajin. She was surprised to see that he used a gun. Her secretary informed her that there were stories about him in the guild community and that many people had watched the video because he was on Yuna's team. He had changed his weapon from a sword to a gun as soon as he reached the cube. Additionally, the secretary noted that he used a non-automated gun and shot 60 bullets in 3 seconds, all of which hit their targets accurately. Due to Kim Hajin's eccentric talent, people internally called him unorthodox. Yoon Sunga found this enlightening, noting that it was a phenomenon where a person realizes their true talent. She explained that a person might not know their true talent before enlightenment, and because of this, people would change their weapons to better correspond to their talent. She was impressed that he achieved enlightenment at just 17 years old, but it didn't seem all that attractive if he was only limited to guns. She suggested they leave him be so he could shine on his own. She wanted to see if the unorthodox title was too much for him. In the next scene, Kim Soho was having a duel with another student. It was an anti-personnel practical exercise carried out between two cadets. Because training weapons were used, it was easy to calculate results and it caused less pain. However, Hajin was the only one who had to go up against an instructor. There were no training guns, so the instructor was fighting with Hajin directly. Hajin was so tired that he quickly surrendered, but the instructor wasn't listening to him, insisting that he couldn't surrender in the real world. As she threw a punch, Hajin saw it coming and quickly dodged. The instructor was shocked. She threw more punches, but Hajin kept dodging them. The instructor was in disbelief. His technique was amateur, but he was able to follow her attacks with his eyes. He was using his ability called Thousand-Mile Eyes, which allowed him to see far and estimate his opponent's next moves. While the skill helped, he still had to dodge on his own. Others were laughing at him, but he still earned some SP points from the attention. After the training, Hajin went to the vending machine and bought a Coke. Yuna was passing by, and they exchanged intense looks. Hajin thought he had written her character, but he didn't like her personality. He decided to conduct an experiment. He called out to her and tossed a Coke to her. She asked if he was trying to start a fight. Hajin explained that she had paid for his bus last time, so he was giving her the Coke to even things out. It was an experiment to see how many points he could earn just by interacting with main characters. Yuna said it was fine and returned the Coke, warning him not to speak informally with her. As she was leaving, she noticed a weight difference in her bag. She opened it and found the Coke. Hajin had swiftly put it in her bag. She was about to throw it away but then stopped, saying that the Coke hadn't done anything wrong. Yuna secretly loved common people's food like Coke, ramen, and burgers, but couldn't buy them due to her reputation. Hajin realized he couldn't earn many SP points just from conversations and would have to intervene in the main story to gain more. The next main story involves a demonic human ambush at the National Weapon Museum. Demonic humans are individuals who have made deals with the devil, gaining great powers in exchange for their souls, and acting as the devil's agents. In this incident, a demonic human hides inside the museum to assassinate someone but is ultimately defeated by the protagonist who happens to be there. This incident garners Kim Soho the interest of other main characters as he and Naeun defeat the demonic human. Hajin decided to intervene in this episode. While he was contemplating his plan, an instructor came by and scolded him for not attending classes. He immediately picked up his laptop but received an email that he missed in the process. Clubs at Cube are extracurricular activities where cadets organize independent activities, including academic pursuits, martial arts, experiential learning, and hobbies. There are many clubs, providing a place for cadets to interact with each other. The club Hajin was going to join was a travel club. The club president welcomed the new members and explained that the objective of the travel club was to rest. They use portals once or twice a month to travel outside the cube, and today they were going to Seoul. The president instructed everyone to draw lots to form pairs. Hajin watched as everyone picked their lots, and that's when Yuyona picked Hajin's name. Yuyona said they would be moving separately. Hajin agreed, and Yuyona warned him again not to speak to her casually. Hajin understood. They reached the National Weapons Museum. As Hajin wandered around, he noticed Naeun staring at a bow. Continuing further, he spotted Kim Soho. Approaching him, Hajin asked if he was looking at the seven-branched sword. Kim Soho replied yes. Hajin introduced himself, and Soho smiled, saying he had heard of him, a sharpshooter who chose a gun. Kim Soho was strong, handsome, and had a strong sense of justice. Hajin recalled being criticized by many of his readers, who claimed the protagonist wasn't realistic. Suddenly, there was a blast that shook the museum. Security announced that monsters were attacking, causing chaos within the museum. People panicked and ran for safety. Then Naeun smashed the glass, urging everyone to calm down and wait for museum standby to arrive. She warned that running outside would make them easy prey. Naeun grabbed a bow and instructed Soho to choose weapons as they prepared to defend themselves until the heroes arrived. Suddenly, a demonic human entered. Hajin noted him as one of Lucius's minions, a villain crucial for the protagonist's growth. The demonic human summoned his vicious claw and charged towards Naeun. However, Soho intervened, attacking from behind. Hajin anticipated Soho defeating him effortlessly, but to his shock, Soho was thrown into the wall. Something was wrong. The plot didn't go as Hajin had written. Initially, Soho was supposed to struggle before unleashing his power to overcome his opponent. Soho was coughing up blood. Hajin asked if he was okay. As the demonic human prepared another attack, Naeun intervened, sending arrows at him. Despite hitting him, he remained unaffected, blocking the arrows with his body. Charging at Naeun, he was about to strike when Soho stepped in, blocking the attack. The demonic human then transformed into a shadow, overpowering Soho completely. Naeun attacked from behind with mana-infused arrows, enraging him. He retaliated by grabbing her face and slamming her into a wall. Hajin grew worried that someone might die, unable to comprehend why things are not going according to his novel. Frantically, he opened his laptop, his hands shaking. Checking his remaining bullets, he realized even with increased damage, it wouldn't be enough. Remembering that important settings shouldn't have changed, he swiftly switched his mana bullets to light attribute bullets, knowing that demonic humans possessed dark attributes and light could burn darkness. He screamed for Soho to move and fired a light bullet, hitting the demonic human's arm. Soho seized the opportunity, absorbing the light energy and cutting the enemy in half, finally defeating him. Everyone was exhausted. Soho went to check on Naeun, but she abruptly threw his hand away, feeling helpless. Hajin reassured her that her brother would come soon to comfort her, just as it happened in the novel. However, Soho and Naeun were shocked to hear Hajin's words. Naeun coughed up blood, her injuries worsening. Outside, the monsters were taken down by the vice-captain, who almost killed every monster. She inquired about the situation inside the museum. An officer informed her that a demonic human had appeared, but was swiftly defeated by 3 cube cadets. Impressed, she asked for their names and learned they were Naeun and Kim Soho. Upon hearing Soho's name, she immediately ran inside, eager to meet him personally. Spotting a cube cadet, she approached, only to realize it was Hajin. Hajin told her Kim Soho was inside. She thanked him but then stopped, surprised about how he knew she was looking for Soho. Finally relieved to escape the chaos, Hajin pondered over the involvement of a foreign character whose significance remained minimal. As the story continued as it was supposed to, he wondered about the sudden changes. Then, he remembered that he had forgotten about the co-author of his novel. This world was a remake of his novel, and if the story was being edited by the email sender, then predictions based on his novel might be useless now. Shocked, he received a message, a critique suggesting that there weren't enough threats to harm the protagonist or those around him. In response, he had raised the strength of enemies, even if it led to chaos. After the incident, the instructor arrived to ensure their safe journey home. Soho inquired about Naeun's condition. The instructor informed him that she had returned home on sick leave and advised them to head back to the cube promptly. Soho questioned Hajin why he had mentioned Naeun's brother earlier. Confused, Hajin remembered the change in the story and asked about her brother. Soho asked if he was pretending not to know. Hajin clarified that he genuinely didn't know. Frustrated, Soho ended the topic. After reaching his dormitory, Hajin researched Naeun and discovered something new about her brother. In the Fireflake plan, her brother was seriously injured and fell into a coma. The demonic human suppression plan Fireflake was the first event where Chia Jinyun, a supporter of the main characters, gained honor. 13-year-old Chia Naeun was very proud of her brother becoming a hero. That was the main plot. Hajin then received another message. In the original novel, Jinyun was trustworthy and a supporter of Kim Suho. However, the co-author decided that there were too many supporters for the main characters, so the plot had been changed. 4 years ago, Jinyun received the devil's branding during the incident and became a devil's seed. Hajin was horrified. Meanwhile, Naeun was in the hospital, reflecting on the incident. Suddenly, her father arrived, surprising her. She asked why he had left his work to come. Her father replied that work wasn't the issue and inquired about her health. She assured him she was fine. She then asked if she could see her brother before leaving, and he allowed her to do so. The devil's seed. Higher-ranked demons leave a branding on humans, turning them into a devil's seed. A human that becomes a seed germinates over time and emerges as a powerful demon. Hajin had set the incubation period to 5 to 6 years, meaning more than half of that time had already passed. Hajin decided that before the demon awakens inside Jinyun's body, he would have to kill him. Hiring a human or a mercenary to assassinate someone from one of the big families was not an option. With no signs of seed incubation, it was impossible to report and deal with it. Currently, Kim Suho was not strong enough. Even if heroes came to fight, they would have to sacrifice their lives, which would disrupt the future storyline. Naeun sat beside her brother. Hajin realized he had no choice but to kill Jinyun himself. Naeun told her brother about the incident, expressing her confusion about how a bullet could create such a deep wound on a demonic human. She stopped talking when a nurse informed her that visiting hours were over. After saying goodbye to her brother, she stepped outside, recalling Hajin's words. Furious, she resolved to seek revenge. In the Tower of Heroes, Vice Captain Yoon Sunga was illegally accessing information in a national facility without permission. Despite the risk, she wasn't worried. She wanted to find records of the ambush incident in the museum. During her search, she discovered light attribute mana on the top of a demonic human and suspected that one of the people who defeated the demonic human was able to control it. She believed that this person could become a great asset against the demonic humans, so she was eager to recruit them. The demonic human had been defeated by 3 cube cadets. Kim Suho and Chai Naeun were already known to her. Then she discovered that the third person was rank 934, Kim Hajin. Meanwhile, Kim Hajin was sitting in the training center when he realized that other people couldn't see his laptop. He discovered that a new function had been added to it. Minor story changes, like the character Damien's drop in confidence, were now being notified to him. The function would alert him if there were any story changes within a 30-meter radius. As Hajin was sitting there, Chai Naeun approached him from behind and asked him for a spar. Hajin was hesitant and declined. She taunted him, asking if he was scared. Hajin replied that he didn't want to get scolded for using real ammunition against cadets. This angered her. An instructor intervened, stating that Hajin couldn't spar with other cadets since he didn't have a training weapon, and asked her to leave. Naeun left, frustrated. Hajin's top priority at that moment was to kill her brother. He knew that if he improved his relationship with her, she would only feel a much greater sense of betrayal later on. In the Veritas Club, the club president, Yoon Hyun, welcomed everyone. The purpose of the club was monster analysis and raid strategy research. People were charmed by his attractive appearance, which was all part of his demonic ability. In the novel, various incidents like cadets going missing and the infiltration of monsters take place, with Yoon Hyun being at the core of these events. He possessed a captivation ability granted by the demon, making him a demonic human. His target was Yuyona. Yoon Hyun presented a hologram of a high intermediate grade monster, a mountain tyrant. Information about high-grade monsters is extremely valuable, and details about their vital points can be sold for at least billions. The club president asked if anyone knew information about the monster's vital points. Yuyona replied currently, there is no information available. He explained that since they were in the club, they would discuss these topics, and those who wanted to participate in the discussion could join the after-party. Hajin asked Yuyona if she was going to join. She ignored him and walked past. Hajin asked again, this time formally, if she was going to the after-party. She replied that she was, as she might get some useful information. Hajin then asked if she was planning to share it with her guild's raiding team. 50 years ago, When dungeons and towers first appeared, Yuyona's family played a key role and now leads one of the top guilds in Korea, the Guild Essence of the Spirit. Hajin mentioned that he heard their vice guild leader was quite strong, to the point that Yuyona, the legitimate successor, felt threatened. Yuyona asked him what he was trying to say. Hajin offered her information about the mountain tyrant's weakness. He explained that if they attacked a very small pattern on the back of its heel, it would stop moving. In return, he asked for a desert eagle from her guild's weapon armory. Yuyona, thinking he sounded so confident, asked if he had proof. He replied, nope. There was a moment of silence. She was quite angry and regretted expecting anything from him. Hajin wondered if she ignored the information, which was worth billions, then it would be useless. But if she believed him, he would gain a reliable ally who'd be known as Seoul's king in the future. Yuyona decided to contact her guild and informed them about the mountain tyrant's weak point. In the next scene, Hajin was devastated to discover that Kim Chundong had taken a loan of 300 million won and spent it all. Hajin thought that instead of returning to his world, he would die paying off the debt. Currently, there were two ways to make money legally. The first was through stocks. Guilds were created to find and raid dungeons, and the stocks of public guilds could be purchased from stock markets. Hajin already knew which guilds would grow big, but he didn't have any money to invest. The second method was field hunting. A field is a danger zone where monsters appear, and one can immediately trade in the bodies of monsters for money. However, his stats were only a little better than the average man's, and upgrading the cube's gun with SP would be a waste. Suddenly, there was a knock on his door, telling of his arrival of a package. He wondered who had sent him a package. He opened the door and saw a package. It was a desert eagle. In the Gungwon Wonju field region, a lady at the counter welcomed Hajin after he used the portal. Hajin thought she was really nice to a cube cadet. He stepped outside and admired the beautiful scenery of the city. This region had relatively low danger fields, and many foreigners were also hunting all over. People were searching for party members, and some were selling potions. A member of an agency was offering 600,000 won in exchange for 3 hobgoblins. Hajin realized it would be more advantageous to sell to the agencies. As he was contemplating this, a man approached him from behind and asked if he was there for the hunt. Hajin inquired if he was an agent. The man replied yes and started searching for his card. He handed Hajin his card, and Hajin noticed that he seemed a bit clumsy. Upon seeing the card, Hajin read the name Park Soo-hyuk, leader of the SH agency. Hajin knew that Park Soo-hyuk's agency would become the best agency in Korea and that he would be Kim Soo-ho's agent. Hajin never thought he would meet him in such a place. Hajin agreed to form a contract with him. This world was just the beginning of the novel, and there were many characters who hadn't realized their true potential yet. Park Soo-hyuk was really happy to find his first customer and promised to provide the best service. Hajin then wondered if it was okay to take away Kim Soo-ho's agent. They reached the fields, and Hajin asked if it was okay for him to follow them. Park Soo-hyuk replied that Hajin didn't need to worry about him, and he could leave him if things got dangerous. Park Soo-hyuk noticed hobgoblin footprints and suggested hunting them, mentioning that they could be sold for 200,000 to 300,000 won each. Hajin was unsure about this because one magic bullet cost 200,000 won, and hunting a more expensive monster would be better for making a larger profit. Then, Hajin saw a steel boar and suggested hunting it. Park Soo-hyuk said they couldn't defeat it with guns and bullets, as they wouldn't even break through its skin. Hajin confidently said he could handle it and took out a desert eagle. Park Soo-hyuk was shocked to see it. Hajin had also added new settings to the gun using SP points. He took aim and shot a bullet, which pierced through the steel boar, killing it immediately. Park Soo-hyuk was in disbelief. Hajin then spotted another monster and shot at it. It was a black pelican monster, miles away from them. Park Soo-hyuk was impressed that Hajin could see that far. After gathering the steel boar and black pelican, Hajin asked how they could carry them outside. Park Soo-hyuk suggested hiring people and began calculating how much profit they could make. They thanked each other for today's field hunting. Park Soo-hyuk asked Hajin where he was going to use all of his money. Hajin replied, the stock market. A new guild, Pack Horse Masters, was founded by demonic humans. There was a dungeon that this guild planned to attack, and after this dungeon attack, Pack Horse Master stock was expected to increase by 1,000%, guaranteeing profits. Hajin wondered if there were any other ways to make money. He recalled a shady website like Violet Society. Then he remembered another group, the the Chameleon Troupe, the main villains in the latter half of the story. All of the members' identities were concealed, and the only person who had information about their activities and location was Hajin. Even though they were a criminal organization, they hated demonic humans. Hajin thought that if he could meet the leader, they might help him kill Chai Jingyun. As he was pondering this, his laptop suddenly turned off. Hajin was worried because this might be his only way to return to his world. Then it turned back on and began to auto-update. Meanwhile, Yuna and Jong Hak met in a cafe. People stared at them, wondering if they were celebrities. Yuna asked about his grades. Jong Hak replied that they were fine. Yuna said that the Jong Hak she knew would only be satisfied with being number one. Jong Hak insisted it was fine. Just then, Naeun entered. Jong Hak got up and went towards her, asking if her health was okay. She wasn't happy to see him and said she was fine. They completely forgot about Yuna. Naeun then asked if they knew Kim Hajin. Yuna asked what about him. Naeun told them about the demonic human incident. She explained that she was with Kim Suho and Hajin when it happened. The enemy was too strong, and Kim Hajin shot off the arm of a demonic human with a handgun. She said he seemed suspicious. Naeun then asked Yuna what she thought about him since they were on the same team. Yuna conducted some background checks on Hajin. She discovered that he was an orphan and currently 300 million won in debt. They couldn't understand how he was able to find the vital point of the mountain tyrants. Knowing that he wouldn't reveal his secrets if asked, she instructed investigators to continue probing into his background. Yuna remarked that he didn't seem impressive at first. She wondered if he really had the power to break through the demonic human's arm and suspected that he might be hiding something. Naeun suggested, what if he is a demonic human? Yuna dismissed the idea, stating that demonic humans would not attack their own kind. They continued to speculate about what Hajin could be hiding. Jong Hak stood up and declared that he would deal with Hajin. Meanwhile, Hajin's laptop update was almost complete. Suddenly, his wrist started glowing, and he felt intense pain. He heard a voice saying, "The stigma is a creator's authority and contains magic powers." His head was bombarded with information, and he couldn't bear it, falling to the floor. A mysterious pattern appeared on his hand. The update had improved his observation and reading skills. Soon after the museum incident, the 3 cadets who fought the demonic human were awarded the Exemplary Citizen Award. Hajin could still feel pain from the mark that had appeared, but he needed to figure out what update he had received. Naeun told him to shut up, though Hajin hadn't said anything. She repeatedly told him to shut up. Hajin reminded her that he had saved her life. Annoyed, she started arguing with him. Suho intervened and told Naeun to exchange seats with him. Suho thanked Hajin, saying that without him, they wouldn't have won. Hajin replied that they would have won without his help anyway. Without him, Suho might have awakened even stronger powers because main characters always get stronger in the face of danger and hardship. After a while, a hero came to present the awards. Yu Si-hyuk, ranked 37th, began the ceremony and called for the award recipients. He asked if he was Kim Suho. When Suho confirmed, Yu Si-hyuk advised him not to join the association, suggesting it might be better for him to work as a hunter since heroes have many responsibilities and there's no fun. Suho responded that he felt suited to being a hero. Yu Si-hyuk remarked that Suho was no fun. Then Yu Si-hyuk saw Naeun and mentioned it had been a long time since they last saw each other. She called him master and greeted him, but he corrected her, saying he wasn't a master of an archer, which made her feel embarrassed. Next was Hajin. Yu Si-hyuk asked who he was, and Hajin introduced himself. Yu Si-hyuk handed the award and showed no interest. After the ceremony, Hajin went to a restaurant. He opened his laptop to explore the new features he got from the update. The update included the stigma, internet access, and the Book of Truth. The stigma could be used depending on Hajin's willpower. When he checked, it started to glow, so he quickly hid it and decided to examine it further when he got back to dorm. Next was internet access, which allowed him to use any website. The most important one was Violet Society, the most famous among non-public sites. It offered information, weapons, bounties, commissions, and acted as a trading place. There wasn't a hero who hadn't interacted with Violet Society. Normally, there were huge entrance fees to access the website, but Hajin could use points to register. While he was checking the website, Yunsunga approached Hajin and asked if he knew who she was. She said that after the ceremony, she had searched for him everywhere. She gave him a business card and mentioned that she was curious about something related to him. Although she acted very kind to people she was interested in, her real personality was quite different. She discarded anyone who didn't meet her standards. Hajin knew that making connections with her now could help him a lot, so he decided to show disinterest. He told her that he had nothing to say. Yoon Sunga insisted she was just trying to talk with him, but he rejected her request. She had only come to find Hajin because she saw him using a light attribute, and her attention was purely out of curiosity. However, because Hajin rejected her, her curiosity will turn into something else. When Hajin used the stigma's magic power, he could summon a dagger just by thinking about it. Magic power was a stat that greatly influenced gifts. Hajin never thought he'd be able to use magic or ancient weapons since he didn't belong to this world. However, he was happy that he could use a little bit of magic. The next ability was the Book of Truth, which contained the truth and would answer any questions within its permitted limits. He started with a simple question, asking his height. It answered correctly, consuming 1 SP point. Suddenly, his smartwatch started ringing. It was an emergency alarm, notifying him about a missing cadet. Hajin realized that the novel's second arc had started, the Cube's serial murder incident. As the plot progresses, 6 cadets go missing over a period of 1 month. This arc is especially important because the culprit's last target is Yuyona. Hajin thought that if the co-author intervened, there would be a huge problem and someone important might die. So, it would be better if he caught the culprit first. But then he realized that if he intervened without thinking it through, the story might change. Therefore, he decided to watch for now. In the training center, some cadets were bullying Hajin, taunting him by saying he should be ashamed if he was struggling to lift the bar. Kim Suho tried to intervene, but his friend held him back. Suho insisted that as class representative, he should do something, but his friend argued that Hajin had pissed off Jonghak, and it would be inconvenient for him to get involved. He also mentioned that if Hajin had destroyed a demonic human, why would he tolerate being bullied? Hajin tried to lift the bar but failed badly. The class representative thought it must have been pure luck that Hajin defeated the demonic human. Suho then intervened to stop the bullying. An instructor arrived and asked about the commotion. The instructor brought the results of the last quiz and instructed the cadets to check quietly. To everyone's surprise, Hajin got first place. It was easy for him since he had cheated using the settings. Suddenly, a sword fell to the ground. A girl was completely shocked by her results. She was Rachel Elizabeth Louise, England's princess and Cube's third-ranked student. Until now, she had never been out of first place in tests in school. Hajin realized he had unintentionally hurt her pride. Back in her mansion, her people were congratulating her on her acceptance into Cube. She had promised everyone she would work hard to meet their expectations for the sake of her royal household in England. She apologized to her citizens for her failure. The professor admired Hajin's answers and advised everyone to learn from his attitude and improve. The phenomenon realm analysis subject was really difficult, and she was curious about how Hajin studied. Hajin had no clue what was going on. Rachel was determined to beat him next time. With the Book of Truth, Hajin can gain any information in this world as long as he has SP points. However, he doesn't have any immediate use for it. The next major issue is the second main story. The Cube isn't a safe place from demonic humans, and Hajin's current stats are not sufficient to fight them. However, thanks to the attention from Jonghak's gang, he gained lots of SP points. He decided to upgrade his weapon. He added a function to upgrade his Desert Eagle into a sniper rifle, consuming 250 SP points. His gun quickly transformed into a sniper rifle and could also revert to a handgun. Next, he added arts. Arts use talent and physical skills. The most important skill for surviving an assassination as a sharpshooter is positioning, and the art useful for positioning is parkour. He felt its effects right away. Hajin received a group text about another cadet who had gone missing. All the cadets who disappeared before Yuyona got killed. 2 people had already been killed, and Hajin wondered if it was okay to let them just die. The next day, they had outside training. The instructor told everyone that it was a dungeon simulator made with magical engineering, and a puppet simulation of a real monster awaited them inside. The instructor warned everyone not to let their guard down even if it was just training. The Veritas and Cultivation classes would work together, with 2 teams from each class combined to make a larger group. Everyone gathered with their assigned teams. There were many traps and mysteries in the dungeon. Hajin made some attribute bullets just in case, but was confident that this would be easy. Suddenly, many story change alerts appeared, and he was confused about how the story had changed. One girl was scolding Suho for not gathering quickly. The characters' personalities had become crazier than before. From Team 8, a character named Jaden was being overly friendly with Yuyona, and his growth potential had increased by zero point 0.5. Another character, Sven, had his mental state worsen, and the probability of him becoming encroached by a devil servant during the dungeon raid had heavily increased. Things were not looking good. There were two people Hajin had to be careful of. Jaden acts strong around the weak, but is weak against the strong, a typical selfish narcissist. Jaden introduced his teammates from his class. Yuyona introduced her teammates, except for Hajin. Sven, a government-funded international student, was one of Germany's future top heroes and liked Neon. Like other students, Sven joined Cube with the dream of climbing to the top. However, in front of other incredible students, he ended up being seen as merely above average. It was the first time he felt inferior and lost. As a result, Sven made the decision to sell his soul to the devil in order to gain immense power. But Hajin was particularly concerned about Sven during the dungeon raid. Hajin knew he had to stay vigilant, especially considering the unpredictability of Jaden and the potential threat posed by Sven's compromised mental state. Jaden approached Hajin and said he had heard a lot about him. But Hajin didn't like him and told him to get lost. Jaden replied that the rumors about him must be true then. People's perception of Hajin had reached rock bottom, largely due to certain rumors suggesting that Kim Hajin was using his position as a cadet to blackmail others and that he went to Seoul every weekend to enjoy himself. Hajin already knew where the rumors had started. Every team entered the dungeon one by one. When Team 8 entered, they came across lots of doors. Yuyona wondered which door they should take. Jaden was suggesting something, but Hajin interrupted, saying they should go through the 6th door. Jaden got pissed off, but Yuyona agreed with Hajin's opinion. She said that, even though he looks stupid, he has good eyes. Hajin chose the path where Naeun's team had gone. If Sven really signed a contract with a demonic human, it would be difficult for Naeun to handle herself. He couldn't afford to lose her, otherwise, the story would be messed up. Jaden complained that Hajin's attitude was pissing him off. Hajin told him to worry about the monster in front of them. Jaden said he couldn't see anything because of the dark. Hajin told him there was a salamander right in front of them. One of them shot a light arrow to check, and indeed, there was a salamander in the dark. Everyone got into their battle formation. Jaden asked if someone had a water attribute. Hajin thought he didn't have to battle yet. Yuyona took her whip and swung it towards the salamander, grabbing its mouth. Other teammates quickly jumped in, slamming it down. They easily defeated the salamander. Hajin noticed the electric spark from her whip and wondered if she had already reached the level of the Eve of Enlightenment. Hajin tripped over Yuyona, and they both fell. Yuyona got up and started beating Hajin, but then she stopped when their teammates spotted an arrow. Hajin realized it was a poison arrow from a demonic human, and when they fell, it had missed its target. Meanwhile, Team 3 was struggling. Sven had been hit by a poison arrow. Naeun picked Sven up on her back and was running from the monster. It was a huge Magna Golem. On the other side, small salamanders attacked Team 8, but they swiftly guarded themselves. One of them shot an arrow to take down a salamander, and the rest of the teammates quickly eliminated the remaining ones. They easily defeated all of them. Hajin thought everything was going smoothly, but he wondered if he hadn't been able to sense the poison arrow. Was it really a trap for training? He was suspicious. He sensed something behind him, a salamander preparing an attack. It launched its attack, but Hajin used his magic stigma to summon a wall of water. The salamander's fire breath was strong, but Team 8 was unharmed thanks to Hajin. They were in shock, wondering if it was really a fake dummy. Jaden got mad at Hajin, asking why he hadn't responded earlier when they were looking for water attributes. Hajin explained that it was the effect of disarming his magic defense. Yuyona intervened and stopped them. She thought Hajin might be lying about the magic defense. It wasn't something that could be purchased when he couldn't even afford a desert eagle. She wondered how someone who wasn't Kim Seho or Jonghak could put an attribute in their magic, know the vital points of a mountain tyrant, and be able to put attributes in magic. She remembered Naeun's words about him being a demonic human. She was now suspicious of him. Meanwhile, an intermediate grade 5 monster was on a rampage. One cadet suggested killing it, but another advised waiting until other teams arrived. Sven's condition kept worsening. He felt helpless, and nothing seemed to be working for him. Suddenly, he heard a voice offering him the strength to become stronger, stating that the price was much lower than losing everything. Feeling desperate, Sven accepted the offer. The devil pulled his body towards itself, and Sven started screaming. The others didn't know what was happening to him. The magma golem heard his scream and immediately attacked them, but they managed to run away in time, with Neon carrying Sven on her back. The magma golem struck through the wall and knocked 2 cadets down. Neon dropped Sven, unsure of what to do, as the golem stared at her. She thought it couldn't be a puppet golem and feared she was going to die. Golem prepared an attack. Suddenly, an ice bullet hit the magma golem, stopping its attack. Neon was clueless until she saw Hajin holding a gun. A few minutes earlier, a path had been blocked. Jaden asked Hajin why there was a wall in front of them if he had said there would be a boss. Hajin was confused as well. He told them to break the wall. Jaden swung his sword but couldn't even scratch it. One of them spotted a gap. Hajin said they could go through there. Jaden complained that they couldn't climb a wall that high. Hajin used his parkour art to climb up the wall and quickly reach the gap. After a moment, the cave started shaking. The magma golem, initially stopped, began to move again and headed towards Hajin. Just in time, other cadets arrived and started attacking the golem. Neon, relieved, quickly picked up her bow and prepared an attack. The cadets were barely holding their ground. Suddenly, something flew and struck the golem. It was Sven. The golem attacked him, but he dodged. Meanwhile, Neon aimed carefully, determined not to repeat past mistakes. She shot an arrow that pierced through the golem's head, finally defeating the monster. The cadets could hardly believe they had beaten it. One cadet asked Neon how she managed to kill the monster. She replied that it was a finishing move. Sven wasn't completely demonified, but the process had only been delayed. He could turn into a demon at any moment. Neon noticed Hajin and approached him to thank him. His eyes sparkled, and he asked her to repeat it, which made her feel embarrassed. Chai Neon's life was riddled with tragedies. On her 6th birthday, she lost her mother to a demonic human, which made her determined to become a hero. From a very young age, she trained relentlessly. She couldn't form deep connections with anyone, believing that opening her heart meant revealing her weaknesses. Not many people ever heard words of gratitude from her, as her conversations often included more "I'm sorry" than "thank you." Hajin had written her character that way. Neon asked Hajin why he was letting Jonghaek harass him if he was this strong. Hajin replied that he couldn't beat them yet. Neon mentioned that she saw his power with the gun earlier. Hajin showed her his Desert Eagle, and she freaked out, telling him he would get expelled if they found out. Hajin explained that he only used it when absolutely necessary. Besides, he had figured out how to hide his weapon within his stigma so no one would find out. Despite this, she insisted that he was too powerful and asked if he had a gift that strengthened his firearms. Hajin said he had something like that. As she was leaving, she assured him she wouldn't tell anyone, then stopped and asked if he wanted to say something. Hajin said no. If Hajin apologized now, she might forgive him, but he couldn't do that because he wanted to maintain distance. He had to kill her brother. The instructor announced that the raid was suspended and they needed to exit quickly. Several problems had occurred during the dungeon raid, including malfunctioning cameras and real monsters invading the artificial dungeon. The instructors realized this too late. Although it was a serious incident, there were no casualties, so instead of dispatching outside agencies, the Cube decided to investigate the matter internally. The demonic human who had taken an executive seat at the Cube had successfully covered up the incident. The side effects of a contract with a demon include hypertrophy of emotion and obsession. In the worst-case scenario, Sven's emotions could get out of control while he is alone with Neon. To prevent that from happening, Hajin decided to check their tendencies. Using the software on his laptop, he could access anyone's private messages. He felt guilty for checking Neon's messages, but proceeded to open Sven's messages. According to the original plot, during the hunting club week, Sven goes berserk. He decided to follow them and head to the MT Gari dungeon. Hajin received a call from Kim Soho, who wanted to ask him something and asked if he had some time on Friday. MT Gari was called the Mecca of training by martial artists because of its pure and spiritual energy. However, the people who came to MT Gari were not only restricted to martial artists, there were also those who searched for valuable items in these mountains. Such as this man, who was lecturing by giving a set of instructions, which annoyed Hajin. Finally, after a long lecture, he let him go. As Hajin was running, he tripped and found a ginseng root. He ate it because it increased his variable stats by 2 for 30 minutes. He could have sold it for at least 700 million won. He was climbing a cliff that was so high he understood why no one had discovered it yet. In the middle of the Mtgari cliff lies an undead dungeon. The dungeon boss is an intermediate-grade monster, the Death Knight. However, Hajin is no match for him right now. But that doesn't matter because Hajin's objective was not the boss, but the dungeon's hidden stage. Skeletons attacked him, but Hajin quickly pulled out his gun and shot their heads. As more skeletons charged at him, he used his skill to find a path through them. He walked over the skeletons, taking care of them swiftly while he moved. He easily dispatched all of them and reached the Witch Evangel's abode, the hidden boss of Mtgari. In the future, she would set up Evangel Castle, the worst undead fortress in history. He came to this dungeon for 2 reasons: the growth-type weapon Ether and Evangel's Seed. Ether is a weapon that made the character Tomer, a demonic human, an executive of wickedness. He reached the place and saw a tree glowing with gems, and there was a little girl, the witch, still not mature. He had to deal with her while her body and intelligence were incomplete. He wasn't ready to kill her, but it had to be done. Besides, Hajin was the one who created her. A witch couldn't be killed by a gun, so he unleashed his stigma to turn the light attribute into a spear. He threw the spear towards her, and a bright light flashed. She was still alive, but her body started to disintegrate, releasing energy, and then she disappeared. She became the Evangel Seed, and he successfully acquired the Ether weapon. All of Hajin's stats increased by 0.6 due to Ether, and its master cannot be changed. Hajin was already handling it pretty well and was confident that it would get even better as it grew. The most important thing he obtained was the Evangel Seed. Hajin was sure it would become an ally if it grew well. To grow the Evangel Seed, it must be fed a small amount of blood. However, since the witch's nature and tendency change depending on whose blood it is fed, he has to be careful about whose blood he uses. He couldn't just go and ask the main characters for their blood, so he decided to put that aside for now. Next on his list was to deal with Sven going berserk. The hunting club president welcomed everyone. Hajin wasn't sure how things would go since he didn't narrate the general ending. Naeun gets severely injured, and Sven dies from the aftermath of the demonic human's rampage. This incident was a plot to make Kim Soho care more about Naeun by making them think demonic human's target was Naeun. Then Yuyona also gets kidnapped. But the fact that bothered Hajin the most was that Sven's settings were different from the novel. He hadn't gone berserk and was even using the power of demons very slightly. Hajin was worried that if he fought him right away, he would lose. Naeun noticed him and wondered why he was glaring at her. Sven alerts Naeun about the recent disappearance of cadets. Naeun told him that Hajin was not the type of person who would do such things. Then they went hunting. Sven hunted a few deer with his demonic powers. When Naeun arrived, he quickly hid it. Naeun captured 1 deer but was surprised to see that Sven had already hunted multiple deer. Naeun lost a bet and asked what he wanted to ask her. Hajin watched them from afar, ready to intervene if Sven went berserk. Sven asked Naeun if she wanted to go out with him. She quickly turned him down, saying they had only been acquainted for a week. She added that she only likes guys who are stronger than her. These words angered him. As she was leaving, he quickly attacked her with his demonic powers. But to his surprise, Hajin arrived just in time and blocked the attack with Ether. He asked Naeun if she was okay. However, as he was distracted, Sven attacked him from behind and grabbed his throat. Hajin struggled. Naeun concentrated her magic powers, imitating a bright light. There are few characters with great potential who cannot bring out their full potential because they chose the wrong weapon. Naeun is the greatest out of all of them, using a weapon that doesn't suit her. She summoned a huge sword using her magic powers and slashed Sven into pieces. She completely destroyed him. Hajin acted surprised and asked her what it was. She didn't know what it was. He asked if she was okay. She said yes, but then she started getting dizzy and fell. After a while, Hajin picked Naeun up on his back and carried her to her dorm. She freaked out and told him to let her down. He put her down, but her leg wasn't moving. She was trembling. Hajin explained that it was magic power exhaustion, a state that occurs when a user has overused their magic power. He told her she wouldn't be able to move for at least a day. She finally agreed to get on his back again. As they walked, Hajin asked if she planned to keep using the bow. She asked why he was asking that all of a sudden. Today, Naeun had unconsciously unleashed her gift. It was a supreme sword that could massacre hundreds of monsters and even demonic humans with a single slash. She could become unmatched in large-scale all-out wars, an overlord of the battlefield. However, for that to happen, she would have to let go of her bow. Naeun got annoyed with him for asking such a question. When they arrived near the portal custom, Hajin put her down and told her to find her own way from there. The next day, people were talking about the incident where Naeun was attacked by Sven, who turned out to be a demonic human. Hajin reached the classroom where Kim Soho welcomed him. There were several other important characters present as well. The day before the hunting club incident, Soho had asked Hajin to spare some time for him. When Hajin asked why, Soho brought up the incident where several cadets had gone missing. He explained that Cube had entrusted some cadets with the task of investigating the disappearances. Cube had selected a few trainees, based on their grades, for the mission to track down the culprit. Since the culprit was suspected to be a trainee, it would be easier to track them from the inside. Hajin asked what this had to do with him. Suho mentioned that he had heard Hajin had keen eyes and that Naeun had recommended him for the task. Suho thanked Hajin for coming and started the meeting by sharing his theory. He said he didn't think the culprit was the same demonic human who attacked Naeun. Jonghak interrupted, threatening him to not call Naeun by her first name as if they were friends. Suho corrected himself, referring to her as Chai Naeun. Suho then explained that it was highly likely Chai Naeun was the next target of the demonic humans. Since Sven had failed, another demonic human would surely attempt to attack her. He asked if anyone had any suspicions or had noticed someone acting strangely. Hajin knew who the culprit was, but was waiting patiently for them to expose themselves. However, unlike in the novel where 6 victims disappeared over 2 months, 3 people had already gone missing in the span of 2 weeks. He was worried that at this pace, even more victims would disappear. Remembering Naeun's words, he decided he couldn't just sit and watch as danger loomed over them. Hajin raised his hand and suggested that the academics club leader, Hyun, seemed suspicious. Suho said that Hyun had an alibi and that they had already investigated the people who were close to the first victim. Hajin countered, asking what if the victims had gone to Yoon Hyun themselves. Jonghak scoffed, suggesting Hajin was implying that a trainee with mere mental magic had lured them. Yu Yona interrupted, questioning why Hajin was trying to prove Hyun was the culprit when they had already said he has an alibi. She pointed out that compared to the club leader, the chances of Hajin being a demonic human were higher. Hajin didn't know how to respond. Suho defended him, saying Hajin also had an alibi as he used a portal around the time of the crime. Yu Yona retorted that portal records could easily be fabricated. A character named Kim Horak stood up, suggesting they beat Hajin to investigate further. Others seemed to enjoy the idea. Hajin laughed and agreed to the fight, despite Suho's attempts to calm them down. Hajin suggested they ask Chai Naeun to confirm his innocence. A ball flew towards Hajin, who barely dodged it. Jonghak angrily threatened him to keep Naeun's name out of his mouth. Hajin mentioned that they had worked together to kill the demonic human during her attack, accusing Jonghak of playing childish tricks instead of listening. This enraged Jonghak, who stood up as Hajin began to leave. As Hajin was leaving, he tripped, and Kim Horak came at him with a strong punch. Hajin dodged, causing Horak to miss and blow up the door instead. Everyone was shocked, including Horak. Hajin pulled out a gun, but Suho intervened with his sword, stopping the situation from escalating. Suho told Yu Yona that if she was so suspicious of Hajin, she should ask Naeun. Hajin left the classroom. Naeun confirmed to Yu Yona that there was no way Hajin could be a demonic human, leaving her at a loss for words. Hajin was stressed. He didn't know what he was even doing. Not only had he fallen into the novel he wrote, but he was also having emotional disputes with the characters he had written with love. He felt slick with everything and deeply missed his friends and family. He wondered how time was flowing in the original world. If it was flowing normally, then he would be considered missing, and he worried about his parents and whether they were sad because of him. He questioned if he could even go back in the first place. A message appeared, saying his perseverance had increased. This made him somewhat happy. It was good that his perseverance had increased, otherwise, he would have definitely given up on returning. He got up, determined to go back home no matter what. Suho returned after searching for Hajin but failed to locate him. Yu Yona asked Horak if he had used his gift earlier. She turned away, remarking how a mere sharpshooter had dodged the attack of a martial arts expert. Suddenly, she received a message from club president Yoon Hyun asking if they could meet in the study room before the club meeting. She agreed to meet him. He was completely covered in blood and had an evil laugh. The next day, Hajin was in class and Suho was feeling sorry for him. Naeun had recovered from her injuries and came to school. Suho asked about her health, but Jonghak wasn't happy with Suho being too close to Naeun. Class started, and the professor announced that the midterm exams were less than a week away. There would be a theory exam followed by a practical exam. The practical exams would be assessed based on two categories: duels between trainees and battles against monsters summoned by mages. The professor warned that this year's exams would be challenging. For Hajin, written exams were easy, but duels posed a problem. Duels required the use of one of 3 nomination tickets each trainee was given, allowing them to nominate a trainee they wished to fight. While it might seem like an opportunity for a higher-ranking trainee to earn points by defeating a lower-ranked one, the system adjusted points based on the rank difference. Even a rank 1 trainee would receive negative points if they won against a lower-ranked opponent. However, some trainees ignore the system and use their nomination tickets on people they dislike, aiming to defeat them. Another thing bothering Hajin was Rachel. She was too close to him. She didn't talk to him but kept hanging around him. She always used to study alone before. She was secretly peeking at his notes. Hajin wrote down some names, which confused her. They were his parents' names. Yoon Hyun texted Yoo Yona that he was in the study room. She arrived and he greeted her gently. Yoo Yona asked where the other club members were. He replied that they would join them soon. She noticed a scent of candles, and he explained that it enhanced focus while studying. Yoon Hyun mentioned that he had heard she joined the demonic human search team and he himself was part of the second-year search team. He expressed frustration over their lack of progress and asked if she had any suspects. Yoo Yona mentioned there was someone who had been making claims about him being a demonic human. Yoon Hyun asked if there was any evidence. She replied there wasn't, but then paused, realizing the implication of his question about evidence. He quickly corrected himself, but she saw through his facade and confronted him to show his true self. Yoon Hyun was exposed and used his power. Hube's second-year dormitory. Yoo Yona was tied to a chair, realizing that Yoon Hyun was indeed the culprit, a demonic human. Hajin wasn't just bluffing. She needed to send a distress signal for help. Despite struggling, Yoon Hyun approached her and warned her against sending any messages. However, she had already managed to send a message to Hajin. Hajin wonders why she would send 9 to him. Yoon Hyun takes her watch, claiming no one would understand the gibberish she sent. Upon seeing the message sent to Kim Hajin, Yoon Hyun realized that Hajin suspected him of being a demonic human and decided to kill Hajin. Yoo Yona mentioned that the search team likely knew and was on their way. Yoon Hyun dismissed it, stating that he would leave Cube once it was all over. This angered Yoo Yona, which pleased him as his demon lord, Lilith, desired to see her fear. Hajin was puzzled over the meaning of 9. After some thought, he realized that 9 in Korean is pronounced as save. He quickly aced his book of truth about Yoo Yona's location. Meanwhile, Yoon Hyun was attempting to brainwash Yoo Yona, but she resisted fiercely with her willpower. He praised her determination, but insisted that she would eventually give up. He began to unleash his abilities to fully control her mind, but suddenly, a bullet pierced his head. Yoo Yona was shocked, and the demonic human screamed in pain. Hajin told Yoo Yona that if she had listened to him, she wouldn't have ended up in this situation. Yoon Hyun asked where he was. Hajin explained that it was a specially made bullet that wouldn't easily come out unless surgically removed. Yoon Hyun searched for Hajin, but Hajin was far away, shooting with a sniper rifle. He took aim and fired multiple shots at Yoon Hyun. Finally, Hajin lined up a final shot and fired. Hajin instructed Yoo Yona to rest while the search team would arrive soon. Grateful for saving her life, Yoo Yona thanked him.